The Western Empire had finally called its banners. Armies marched south in search of vengeance, but in the north, war had already begun. Raganvad and Halthdar sailed together under a single purpose: to test the Blood Pact in battle. After resupplying at Balgard, the Sturgian fleet pushed south, longships cutting through the narrow strait that fed into Lake Laconis. The water widened as they emerged from the passage. And there, at the mouth of the lake, Imperial ships. 3 large vessels held the center, their hulls towering above the waterline. 2 smaller ships flanked them on either side, moving in disciplined formation. Raganvad narrowed his gaze. His ship drifted from formation, easing back as he studied the enemy. Halthdar stood firm at the stern of his own vessel, gripping the long wooden tiller that guided the rudder. Around him, the bulk of the fleet answered. Longships shifted as one, oars biting deep, prows angling forward. The formation tightened, the pace quickened. Distance collapsed across the water. The frozen waters of the north would turn red on this day. The first strike came before steel ever met. Imperial ballistas fired. Balls of fire tore through the air, crashing into the water near hulls as the Sturgian ships pressed forward. Men braced for the impact. Still, the fleet did not break. Javelins flew in answer. Arrows cut through the air as the gap vanished between them. Then, wood slammed into wood. Ships collided with violent force, waves surging upward as hulls crashed together. Hooks were thrown immediately. Iron bit into timber. Ropes went taut. The ships locked together. On one flank, 2 Sturgian longships pulled tight against an Imperial vessel, trapping it between them. The rope bridges were attached, and the northern warriors surged forward without hesitation, face to face with their enemy. Northmen poured onto the Imperial ships, axes rising and falling in brutal rhythm. Steel rang out across every vessel. Men slipped on wet planks as blood mixed with seawater beneath their boots. The Imperials fought back with discipline, spears thrusting in tight formation. But the fighting was too close, too chaotic. Their lines broke apart under the pressure. Water crashed against the hulls as ships slammed into one another again and again, throwing men off balance mid-strike. Screams cut through the wind. On the edge of the fight, one Imperial soldier lost his footing and vanished into the water below. No one followed. There was no time. Then, a deep crack split through the chaos. Raganvad's ship surged forward at full force. The ram struck the side of an Imperial vessel with crushing impact. The deck lurched violently. Men were thrown from their feet as the hull splintered under the blow. Imperial ballistas fired again from the rear ships, balls of fire striking Sturgian decks. Flames sparked where they landed, but the sea answered. Water crashed over the hulls, smothering the fire before it could spread. The Imperials had planned for distance. They had not planned for this. Raganvad crashed onto the deck with his warriors at his back, cutting through the Imperial troops with relentless force. His blade struck clean, dropping an Imperial where he stood as the Northmen flooded the ship behind him. The center could not hold. The largest Imperial ship stood surrounded, its decks crowded with defenders fighting back with everything they had left. On both sides, the Northmen pressed in. There was no escape. Every step the Imperials took cost them ground. Every strike from the Blood Pact drove them further back. Their formation collapsed. Their numbers thinned. One by one, they fell. The last Imperials were surrounded on all sides, backs to splintered rail and broken mast. They fought to their final breath, blades rising in defiance until they were swallowed by steel. The water churned with the dead, dragging armored bodies beneath the surface as the lake claimed them one by one. The battle ended not with a single blow, but with silence spreading across the water. Bodies drifted between the ships. Broken shields floated in their wake. Raganvad stood on the deck of his ship, looking across at what remained of the largest Imperial vessel. He commanded his men to tend to the ship. He could make good use of it. The rest, he told them to sink them. The Frostwater had claimed its dead, but the war had only just begun. The Northern Empire would learn of this defeat soon enough. They would hear how their fleet was torn apart at the mouth of Lake Laconis, how Sturgians and Nords fought as one. But by then, it would be too late to stop what was coming. The Blood Pact had drawn its first blood, and somewhere beyond the northern waters, Lucan would soon understand what that truly meant.